Interesting to watch people trickle into the waiting room. It's almost like you can feel the API calls happening to the Zoom server.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for responding. I wasn't sure if my headset was working, so I guess that it is.
Good afternoon.
Hey. I like the energy in that. It's almost the end of the week. How's everyone feeling? Good, I hope.
Ready
Drained.
for it to be the end of the week.
Yes.
And the weather's getting nicer and nicer, so that's the good thing about it too.
Y'all made it. First week's Thursday.
Yes, congratulations. Hold on, let me throw up a reaction. Where's my, oh, hold on. I'll get to it later. I'm still admitting people. Oh no, I'm frozen again. Come on.
All right, I think we have everyone. Jesse, do you have anything to kick off?
Yeah, just one quick thing, and thank you, Max. So one really quick thing. I sent an email on it as well for everyone that's involved in the Common Space tour tomorrow. Just quick address change. So instead of the previous address, it'll be at 351 South Warren Street, which is just around the corner from the building. I sent an email on it, so you should have that in your inbox. And then if you're unable to attend that in-person tour, Dana will also be streaming a virtual tour of that. So please do your best to attend one of the two. Please try to be there in person if possible. If you're unable to attend the in-person tour or the virtual tour, please send me an email, myself or Dana, and we'll try to find some time next week. But please try to make every effort to attend that 5 p.m. tour tomorrow of Common Space. And if you have any problems accessing the Latch app, let me know. I sent those all today. So hopefully you should have got an email in your inbox with instructions for how to actually access the space, but Dana and Joe will walk you through all that good stuff tomorrow. So any questions or concerns on that, please let me know, and we'll figure it out. And I'll hand it back over to you, Max.
Awesome, thank you. So in classic tradition, let's do stand up. What did we do yesterday?
Yesterday we installed some applications to our computers, and we learned about the terminal and a bunch of different shortcuts and stuff to use with the terminal.
Absolutely. And how do we feel about getting your dev environment set up? Everyone super happy at how easy that was? So yes, absolutely. We did a quick overview of how the internet works. We did command line basics. I encourage everyone to take a look in the classroom drive. There is a document I posted in there yesterday about commands that we went over and a couple that we didn't. But if you're having trouble in the command line, I recommend taking a look at that because it's so easy to get lost in how many commands you can run. So again, a reminder, remember where you're at. PWD, print working directory, is your friend. 9 times out of 10, when a command isn't running, when you're getting started in the terminal, it is likely because you were in the wrong directory in your terminal. So use that cheat sheet as your friend. And if you have any troubles getting into the Google Classroom Drive, definitely let me know about that. Then we spent the rest of the time installing all of those programs. So tonight, I posted an assignment in Google Classroom. It is called Install Check-in or something along those lines. If you get a chance, if you could fill that out sooner rather than later, it should only take you guys a couple minutes to do it, and it will give me a good idea of where everyone is at in terms of what you got installed, what you didn't get installed. And then I'm hoping to save the end of class for that install. What I am going to go over tonight is a little project management basics, kind of why project management is important. And then we're going to watch a 5-minute video. In order to avoid any copyright issues on YouTube, I'm actually going to send all of you guys the link and have you guys all go on mute. It's a 5-minute video, and then we'll rejoin back in here. But first, I'll give you a quick little rundown of why project management is important and all of that kind of stuff. We are going to go through a quick exercise in Trello. Trello is a free project management tool. About 2 years, it was bought by a huge software company called Atlassian, who runs Bitbucket, who is a competitor to GitHub. And they also run a couple other softwares like Confluence, which is a program you may use when you get into professional development on tracking issues and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Trello is a super popular tool. It's used for managing lists. And so we're going to go through an example tonight of how we would use it in a classroom setting, and then also talk a little bit about how you'll be using it for your capstones. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed at all of this information coming at you, and all the things that you need to do in your capstone eventually, Trello is a great tool for kind of doing that brain dump and having everything managed in a list. We're going to go over keeping your files organized, and then we're going to go through a quick hello world in the terminal. So we're going to practice editing some code and adding your name to it. And then we're going to get your first program up and running where we're going to add 2 numbers together. From there, I will take a break and leave the rest of the class open to anyone who is having any installation issues. So again, if you have not gone to the Google Classroom and filled out that quick little form on how far you got in the installation, that would be appreciated. But with all of that said, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions, any current events, anything from yesterday, anything.
Carolyn has her hand raised.
You are muted.
There we go. Yeah, I posted this in Slack, and actually the story was released in February, but I heard about it this morning on TV. So if people want to go over there and look, and I know other people are doing this elsewhere, but a high school student in Chicago, or the Chicago suburbs, was trying to schedule a vaccine appointment for an older relative, and it was just really awful. And he got to thinking, gee whiz, what can we do about this? This is a problem. How can we solve it? And he's a computer person. So it describes the steps he took to address the issue. There's a Facebook group that I guess he joined or whatever. It's really amazing. And I think it's spreading to other states, or other states are mirroring what he's doing. But he built a website, and basically it just pulls in all the available appointments or whatever. And I guess it's usually successful. And I included just like 2 or 3 links to the different angles on the information. There is more out there. So I just thought, as in the news, even though actually it happened in February, I just learned about it today, and it kind of relates to the, you have a problem to solve, kind of thing. So and plus it's very timely with the vaccination. So just wanted to throw that out there. So it's all in Slack.
So I can give you a little tech story behind that. There are all these different websites. I'm actually in New Jersey right now, and there's a statewide vaccination site But they also said, you know, here are all of these other sites that aren't using our statewide booking system. And so I looked at all of them and I thought, well, this is silly. None of them have, or very few of them had an email sign up to let you know when they were available. So people would just have to go on the website and check it. And so I thought, this is silly. I can write some code that's called a web scraper to go on, hit those websites, and just shoot me an email when they have changed. And so I'll go in there whenever it doesn't have the text, you know, no appointments available anymore. I'll check every 10 minutes and get an email and go get my vaccine that way. So I set up across 6 or 7 different websites. It was automatically running. It was doing all of that. And then I also see in the news a big block of appointments is going to be available. So I went, all right, I'm going to rough it out. I'm going to get out 3 different devices and I'm going to try and hit the refresh button all at the same time. Sure enough, me writing 100 lines of code and doing the scraper and doing all of that yielded nothing. And what got me in was just hitting the refresh button at the right time. So a little lesson for you that sometimes code is great and you can identify problems and go out there and come up with solutions. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, I got an email and I was actually able to get in and get the appointment from the code. But what actually got me the appointment much faster was just refreshing at the right time. So a good little lesson for you that that code can definitely solve problems. But as a family friend put it, it doesn't hurt to have roads in a rowboat with a motor. And so sometimes tech is a great solution and sometimes it's not. But thank you for sharing those resources and definitely encourage everyone to check them out in Slack. Awesome. I saw some other hands up, but Zoom is playing games with us tonight and has lowered them. Anyone else have things to throw out there before we kick off class?
Since no one is re-raising their hand or asking a question, I just wanted to give a quick tip for tonight. It's something that I just discovered. So in using your keyboard kind of like a control unit as well as to do input, if you want to temporarily take yourself off of mute without having to click all the time, just press your space bar. I'm doing that now. It seems to work. As soon as I take my hand off of the space bar, I went back on mute. So if you want to go ahead and try it now, just press and hold your space bar down.
You just have to make sure that Zoom is your active window. So if you have anything else open, the space bar won't register, but as long as Zoom is you're clicked into it, holding down space will temporarily unmute you.
It's kind of like the old radio microphone days. And when I used to do announcements in my high school, and there's this bar you would press down to talk and you let go. And sometimes you go through all the announcements and realize you forgot to press down the button. But yeah, great. Thanks. That's a great tip.
Exactly. That's your quick tip for tonight. And also for those who haven't gotten into Slack today, I've tried to make it more convenient for you to find the recorded video. So now you can access that within Google Classroom. When you go there, all you have to do is just scroll down to the end of the module list and you'll see links to all of the videos recorded so far. And that's it for my updates.
Awesome. Any other questions from yesterday, current events that you saw, anything tech related you want to discuss? All right. We are going to dive in to what is project management and why is it important. So I found a couple good YouTube videos, and one of them was a whiteboarding session on project planning for beginners. And I thought the content creator did a really good job of kind of covering why project management is important. Project management for me is always a very hard thing to teach because project management always sounds like common sense, right? It doesn't matter how many times you hear project management or tips on how to do it or the systems behind it. Every time you hear about it, you go, well, of course you would do that. That's just how you start a project, or of course project planning makes sense. I cannot tell you how many projects I have been part of professionally and personally and at hackathons. And I'm talking, 24-hour events all the way up to several $100,000 projects that have just fallen apart because the project management was not there. So as a developer, and this is especially true if you're working on your own or you're freelancing, it is going to be up to you to do project management. If you are working in a team, oftentimes you will have a project management person, often called a PM or a project planner, who is working with you on this project to make sure it stays on track. However, as a developer, you can't just write that off as, oh, the project manager will take care of that and just move on, right? You need to work tightly with this person. So whether it's up to you and you're working on a solo project, or when you're working in a team, having those lines of communication open for project management are absolutely critical. So you can have all the resources in the world, have the right team together, but unless you have someone who is looking at the project as a whole and making sure that it's staying on track and making sure we know what the deliverables are and what the client needs and what the timeline is, you will be amazed at how quickly that all falls apart, even if you have the right team behind you. So, typical things that you may hear around project management. Something didn't turn out the way you wanted or expected. It costs extra time or money or energy, or arguably the worst, credibility or future opportunities. Those can all manifest as, I should have planned that better. And while we're not going to do a super deep dive into project planning, what you want to identify is the basics, right? It's the what date are we starting on this and what are we ending on? And the most important place that manifests is something called a deliverable, right? And of course, lots of different industries have deliverables, but the deliverable means, what am I giving to the client? And oftentimes the best deliverable is a frequent deliverable. So it's very easy to say, all right, I'm going to give you this website at the end of the project, right? And you go, this project's going to take me 3 months. And over the course of 3 months, the client goes, you said it's going to take you 3 months. You can do that. Get back to me. You deliver something to them at the end of the 3 months and they go, well, I want this changed and I didn't agree to that, or I would like this graphic inserted, or there are all of these different changes that are required. So oftentimes, we want to encourage more deliverables. We want to check in with the client and say, hey, I would like to check in with you every 2 weeks and show you the progress that we're making. And so at that point, it's much easier to break down the project and get more frequent feedback. And so there is a methodology called Agile. And Agile software planning is becoming much more popular, and it is taking over the older project management technique called waterfall development. So in waterfall development, there's a chart that you make where you basically set the first project, the first part of the project is going to take this long and these people are going to be involved in it. And once that is done, the next block looks like a waterfall. It looks like steps. And the next team is going to come in and they're going to work on this for a set number of hours. And then the next person can't start until the former one is done. And so the problem with that technique is that there's often feedback that comes in, feedback that you want to iterate on. But if you're managing in a waterfall methodology, the team who is best able to implement that feature may already be off the project and may be working on something else. So agile methodology is this notion of we're going to iterate on sprints. And a sprint is normally a week to a 2-week period. They can be as long as 4, they can be even shorter, it depends on what team you're working on. But at the end of every sprint, you're going to do something that is called sprint planning. And it is like stand up on steroids. Instead of saying, what did we do yesterday? What are we doing today? Are there any potential roadblocks? They're looking at what happened this last sprint. What did we commit to doing? What were our time estimates for those tasks? Did we get all of those done? Why didn't we get things done that we said we were going to? And the notion of that is called a retrospective of let's look back and say, hey, things came up. Let's talk about them as a team and identify what we did well in addition to what we could have done better, right? And then the second half of sprint planning is saying, okay, let's look at all the things that we need to get done. And those tasks are normally contained in something called a backlog. And the backlog is a long list of things that you're committing to doing that you would like to work on at some point. And these tasks could be as small as we want to change this blue button to red, or it could be something as large as, we're launching a whole new website and we want to, figure out everything that's involved with it. And so at sprint planning, you start moving things from the backlog into your to-do list. And so this brings up the notion of something called Kanban, Kanban. I believe it is a Japanese term, but it is the notion that everything gets broken down into 3 and really 4 groups. Your to-do list, your doing list, and your done list. And then the fourth one that we can kind of add on there is your backlog, right? Of all the things that aren't quite in to do, they're not committed to this sprint, but we don't want to forget about them. And so sprint planning is the process of, one, doing that retrospective, looking at your done list, looking at your doing list, and figuring out why that happened, why there were still things that we said we were going to get done that didn't get done. The second half of that is looking at the backlog and breaking out those backlog items into small enough chunks. My general rule of thumb, and this is different for everyone, is that nothing should go on your to-do list if it's going to take longer than 4 hours. Because as soon as something takes longer than 4 hours, it's easy to get lost in it. And it's easy to keep track of what did I get done and what haven't I gotten done here. And so I often will work with junior developers on my team to help them break down tasks. Because in the backlog, there may be something that's going to take an entire week or an entire 2 weeks to do. But before you move it into your to-do list, you want to start breaking down those tasks of, okay, I can't accomplish this whole page in 4 hours, but maybe I'll take this page that I'm trying to create and break it out into different sections. Oh, look, this nav bar I need to get done. And oh, there's a sidebar here. And oh, there's an image that shows up, right? That's how you can start breaking down these large tasks into smaller ones. And so the reason why that is important is because it is easy to lose track of time while you're coding and you feel like you're making progress and all of a sudden you get stuck somewhere and you can't figure out why you're stuck there, and you look at the clock and you realize you just worked a 12-hour day. And so what you do is you call it a night, you get up, you go to bed, you wake up in the morning and you look at that one task that's sitting in your doing list that says create this page, and you have no idea where you left off. So that's why you really want to break these down into smaller items. And then from there, they're much easier to track. So going back out to the bigger picture, and then we'll get into Trello a little bit and get a little bit more hands-on. Project planning and project management really breaks down into the 4 W's and the H, right? Why? Why are we working on this? What is the project? What is the big picture of this? It sounds, again, so much like common sense, but I can't tell you how many projects I've been involved in that we get halfway through it and then the client goes, wait, I didn't know you were doing that. Or, well, am I paying you for that? Or, oh yeah, that's all great and all, but we don't need that for this release. So before you start sitting down and planning out all those tasks, you want to make sure that everyone involved in the project knows what is getting built, what is getting done. From there, you move on to the what, the deliverables and the expenses, right? You don't want to get through a project that is you think is going to take you 3 months and the client comes to you and goes, I thought this was going to be done in a month. I don't have the money to pay you. So that is an upfront thing that you want to discuss either with your client or with the team that you're working on, right? One term you will hear a lot is scope. Scope is what are we building? And whenever another feature gets added on, whenever a client comes to you and goes, oh, that looks awesome, and now that I see that, I would like one more thing, that is a term called scope creep. I don't know that I've ever worked on a project that did not have scope creep at some point, right? There's always another feature that you want to add on to the site. And so it is your job as a developer or your project manager's job to identify that and say, we can do that, but, and that but often means these features are going to slip, or it means that the deliverable date is going to slip, right? In software development, the answer to can you is always yes, how long, right? In software development, there's rarely a time where you go, no, I can't do that. Because the fact of the matter is, even if we don't know how to do that, we can go learn how to do that. But the answer that you need to give a client is not no, it's I can do that, but here's the timeline it's going to take for me to learn that and implement that on this project. Or yes, I do know how to do that, but here is the impact on the deliverable, right? And all of a sudden the client is going to realize the impact of that scope creep. And some clients will come back and say, that's fine, go ahead and do that. And that's really when you're working in this agile methodology of let's check in every 2 weeks and see where we're at, is a really useful mechanism. So your when, right? Start date and end date. Some projects are ongoing. Some projects won't have an end date. Some projects you will feel are always ongoing and you can never reach the end date. And proper project management is going to help you with that. It's going to help you draw a line in the sand and say, what is our release date? And then we can iterate on top of that. We can always add new features. Who does the work, right? It is so easy to, even if you have your head fully around the project, to get into this project and think your team is working on this and realize that you were the one who were supposed to do it. So the benefit of having all of these tasks planned out is that you can assign people to them and make sure that people have what they call the bandwidth to complete that task, right? It's super easy for a team to think they're flying by and not realize that this one person has all of these things that are holding people up. And so a tool like Trello is going to help you put pictures next to every task, pictures of the person working on it, so you get a better sense of where is this project at. Makes it much easier to track. And then finally, how. It's really important at the beginning of the project and throughout the whole project to understand what the process looks like. A lot of clients will come in and give you money and then touch base 3 months later and say, where are you at? Right? So you want to make sure that you understand every step along the way before you commit to a project. And you want to make sure that the client understands. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to interact with them, every day, or you don't have to include them in your stand-up. But again, that goes back to your deliverables. How are we going to get to the deliverables, and how can we provide a frequent enough deliverable that the client can provide feedback? So sometimes a deliverables diagram helps, breaking it down, having it all planned out. That deliverables diagram sometimes looks like a calendar. Sometimes it looks like a timeline, however you go about it. The one thing to note is just because it's a deliverable doesn't mean that it is a public deliverable, right? So a deliverable is anything that you are handing off to someone to review. So I may be in the middle of planning out this site. I may have some mock-ups created, for example, pictures of how I think the site is going to look. Now, that isn't a deliverable in the sense that the public is going to see those mock-ups. That deliverable doesn't mean that anyone can go on the internet and see what the site's going to look like. That deliverable is just to the client to say, hey, review these and provide some feedback to me, right? And so, again, another example of having multiple deliverables is that the client can come back and go, I don't like the way this looks. Can we change this? Can we put this color in? Can we change these graphics? And at that point, it's going to be much easier to make those changes than it is if you get to the end of the project and you have to do that at the code level. So I'm going to take a breath there. Any questions about project planning?
Just one quick thing, I'll chime in. So you're all going to be creating capstone projects, and we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. But start to think about this and how you would, take this really big idea you'll have for your capstone projects and how you would kind of apply it to what Max is saying here. So just start to chew on that kind of in the back of your minds, and you'll find that we're going to follow a very similar process where every 2 or 3 weeks, you'll give an update on where you're all at in your capstone project. So just want to plant that seed now, and for things to be able to start to chew on.
Absolutely. And so what we're structuring you guys to do is learn these concepts. And so we actually have I have an example Trello board set up tonight of the classroom of the concepts that we've covered throughout the week and what it looks like to add tasks and move them through your Kanban board. It sounds so trivial, but when you start getting this long list of all these things that you need to do, it's easy to get lost in them. So what I find is key for me when I use a Kanban board is order. I want to come in the morning and have what I call my punch list, right? I want to be able to just know what's coming up and drag one into doing, get it done, move it to done, and move on to the next thing in my to-do list. And so Trello helps you organize all of that, and it makes it super easy for you to set your priority as well, because there will be tasks that you need to get done, but you're not, they're low priority, or maybe they're even in your backlog. There are things you want to get to, but you're not going to get to in a 2-week period. I have used the concept of Kanban and rapid feedback and doing a daily stand-up even when I was working alone, even when I didn't have a team around me and I was doing contract work. Being able to do that daily check-in of stand-up and saying, what did I get done yesterday? It's so easy to fly through the whole day, and then you get up the next day and you feel like you're on this treadmill, right? So doing that stand-up, even if you're on your own, you can list out your accomplishments. What did I get done? What am I planning on doing today? And what do I have in my way? Because it's super easy to sit down and just work through things and then lose sight of the fact that you're waiting to hear back from someone and get completely roadblocked, right? And so by doing that daily stand-up of saying, I have to remember I'm still waiting to hear back from this person, and at a certain point, I'm not going to be able to continue work on this project. And that's really where the art of being a entrepreneur, being a freelancer, and being able to balance that is really hard. But it is something that is definitely achievable. And it's another reason to work in a team, right? And to work in that company environment, because they're going to provide project managers for you, or hopefully they are. But that doesn't mean that you're completely off the hook. You still want to, be involved in the project management. You still want to keep your eye on the ball and all of that kind of stuff. So throughout the course, instructors are going to help you have an idea of, what does this mean for my capstone? Okay, I just learned HTML. What does this mean for implementing it? What do I get to do on my capstone? Okay, I just learned React. What does that mean for my capstone? What are the tasks that I can now go to do that and work on that? And I would all encourage you to use Trello. And in a moment, we're going to get a Trello board set up for everyone, just so they have a general idea of it. I cannot tell you how many people I have worked with who go, my entire brain is here. If my Trello board disappeared, I wouldn't know what to do next. And so Trello becomes a really important tool because project management is so easy to get lost into. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to send everyone a link to a video in YouTube, if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. And it's going to talk a little bit about Agile project management and why Agile is different. Quick reminder to anyone who has not filled out the install check form in the Google Classroom. I've got 13 of you guys responding. So before you watch the video, if you haven't filled out the install check in Google Classroom, I would advise you to do that. Otherwise, make sure you're on mute and then pop open the YouTube link that I just put into the Zoom chat. I'm also going to share it in the CIC student resources in Slack. and it's about a 5-minute video. So we'll regroup with everyone here around 6:15, which will also give you a chance to fill out the install check form if you haven't already. All right, welcome back. Who wants to say a couple words about the video? Anything you learned, you found interesting, it's worth reiterating?
So I found the burger analogy pretty helpful in the way that how they explained giving feedback is just like, okay, so you start with this basic idea or project, and then you're like, here's the most basic version, and then you get feedback and you're like, okay, I'll apply that feedback directly. And even though like obviously it's more complicated than that, viewing that project style that way makes a lot more sense versus like the waterfall method where it's just here's like the flood of all the things we had discussed months ago, and I hope it's still what you want, you know?
Yeah, that's an issue that Microsoft ran into with Microsoft Word. If you ever noticed, Microsoft Word came out in 2003, and then there wasn't a new version of Microsoft Word until 2007. So one of the most widely used software programs got caught up in waterfall project management because there was always one more feature that they wanted to add. So at the end of 2004, when they were ready to finally ship a product, they put it out to their customers, and the customers went, that's great and all, but here are the things that we want. And so they took that all of those features, went back into waterfall, and went all the way down the waterfall with only people working on it at certain parts in the project. And they got to the end of all of that, and by the end, their customers said, oh, well, that's great and all, but it's been another year. Here are the new things that we want. And it took years and years for them to finally say, we need to shorten our feedback life cycle. We need to get customer feedback quicker. And so a term that you will hear me screaming at you at the top of my lungs is MVP. Does anyone know what MVP stands for except most valuable player? So MVP stands for minimum viable product. And each one of those words is super important. Minimum in that it's the smallest thing that you can ship that is viable. That means customers are going to use it, right? And so you can come up with all of these great features that you think your customers want, but there is a list of core features that make your product viable that you need to get out the door. And so when you start working on your capstones, one of the things that the mentors are gonna help you filter down is that feature required for your MVP, your minimum viable product? You know, search is great, but do you have only 10 things on your website anyway? Do you really need that search feature, right? Those little things that sound so simple are because we're talking about project planning, I will also teach you the term rabbit hole. These things that you like Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole, right? All of these things where you go, oh yeah, I want search, and you start learning about search, then you go, oh, well, I need to learn how to submit things on the API, and so you go learn a little bit about that, and you go, well, I gotta get that connected to the database, and you start worrying about all of that, and then all of a sudden you go, where's my MVP? What was I supposed to be working on? So MVP is about whittling down all of the features that you want to work on and putting that in your backlog list of, I want to get to all of these things, but what is the smallest thing that I can ship that my customers are going to use? And so those are two vocab terms for you: rabbit hole, which developers are notorious for falling down. And it's not that you need to avoid going down rabbit holes, because as a developer, you will always find yourself in the rabbit hole. The trick is to catch yourself before you fall too far down into it, right? When you don't realize you're in a rabbit hole until you have fallen. So realizing that and catching yourself and anchoring yourself around your MVP of what do I need, it helps you get to your MVP quicker. Anything else from the video that really hit home for you, or that you found interesting? Or I know a lot of this is like, well, duh, But I'm telling you, project management is one of those things that like it makes total sense until you are in a team that doesn't have good project management. And then all of a sudden it becomes so crucial. Any other comments, feedback on the video? Do you find that a helpful resource for kind of understanding what Agile is and what makes it a little different? Awesome. Okay. Thank you for submitting responses on the form. I believe I am only missing 2. So if you have not filled that out, definitely fill that out. We are doing better than I thought on install. So congrats to everyone. You have actually set up a dev environment. If you haven't, I'm going to make sure to spend some time at the end of class, and whoever needs help, I'll be around to help. We will be doing an exercise shortly to prove that you now have your dev environment set up. But for now, let's get into project planning and make it a little bit more tangible and a little less ethereal and floating out there. So what I'm going to do, I encourage everyone to head over to Trello.com and go ahead and sign up for a free account. If you already have an account, that's completely fine. Feel free to use that. You won't need your account to follow along with what I'm doing right now. But I want to give you a quick overview of Trello and how that works. No, that's not the right screen. Here we go. So once you create your account in Trello, you're going to find something like this. It may ask you to create a team. It may take you through an account onboarding setup, but once you get through that process, you're going to see something that says your team boards or create a new board. Creating a new board is super easy. All you have to do is give it a title and choose a pretty background for it and hit create board. This is what a board looks like with some information in it. So everything revolves around these lists, and you can have as many lists as you want and scroll left and right to find them. We are going to follow that Kanban methodology of is it to do, doing, or done. So one thing that talk about being in multiple rabbit holes at once, it's easy to lose track of what you're doing. And so my general rule of thumb is to only be doing one thing at a time, because so many things are going to pop up where you will go, oh, I want to go work on that. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, what was I working on before this? And so what I try to do is at my sprint planning, I look at my backlog list and start breaking down the tasks in the backlog to get them into my to-do list. So for this example, it's a good example of that Trello doesn't just have to be used for software projects, right? It's very easy to track a lot of different things across this. So one thing that I do at the beginning of either sprint planning or my stand-up is I'm going to look at my to-do list and I'm going to go, all right, what am I getting done today? Well, I want to cover my project management basics. And so all I did is I click on add card and it gives you that area to type. So I'm going to add another card and I'm going to say setting up Trello. And we're also going to go over keeping your files organized tonight. And then finally, we're going to get to our hello world. So what we can do is we can, as we're completing these tasks, we can go through and move them. So project management basics, I already covered that. So I'm just going to grab this card and move it over to our done module. The nice thing about Trello is that it's not just about lists. You can store notes in your cards and lots of other different things like files. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop open that card by just clicking on it. And then what I'm able to do is if I go into write a comment, I can attach a file. So one file I'm going to attach is, make sure I attach the right one here. I'm going to attach from my computer. And I'm going to drag in a screenshot that I just shared with all of you guys. And so once that appears in there, I can hit save, and now you can see that icon appears there. So I can share this board with you. I've made this board public. So in order to do that, up here at the top, I clicked on public, or it was initially on private or team, and I moved it over to public. So that means that anyone with that link is able to see my board. So we're going to be using this as you guys align with some mentors and get started on your capstones in the next couple weeks. We're going to be using this to track progress. And so instructors are going to give you some ideas of how do we take the lessons from this week or at the end of the week and generate out tasks so that you can complete them on your capstone. I would not be surprised if you end up with well over 100 different tasks that it takes to pull off your capstone. So this is just a way to track it. Another very nice thing about Trello is that if I had multiple members on this board, I could click on it and click on members and add an additional team member to this. So oftentimes there will be a lot of different people working on the same project, and the project manager or the team lead will want to get a quick idea of where everyone is at and what they're working on. So being able to assign members and have conversations about that task right in your project management software is super helpful. So one thing we're going to do is we will always want to keep this up to date, right? So we are setting up Trello. So I'm going to move that over into my doing column. And what that does is it allows the team around me to know, hey, this is what I'm actively working on. And it might even be a good idea to assign me that as a member. So Trello is a software that is super, super versatile, and you can set it up in all different ways. I've seen people modify their Kanban board to add a roadblocked column. So people know, hey, I'm trying to accomplish this task and this person is holding me up. And that roadblock column, when you're moving things from to do to doing, you may want to check there and go, oh, I'm holding this person up. Let me move that into my doing column instead of the next task that I thought I was going to work on. The other thing to note here is that order matters in Trello. So if I were to say, hey, hello world is more important than getting my files organized, I can just drag that down and it's going to reorder that list for me. So this is a really quick rundown of Trello. Does anyone have questions? You guys see how this could maybe be a helpful resource? Cool. Okay. Let me think about, we're going to do a quick little note on keeping your files organized. And then we are going to take a break. We're going to do hello world, and then we're going to open it up for any install problems, any people stuck on hello world. And then towards 8:15, we'll just regroup and see if anyone has any thoughts to share at the end of the week with the class. And then I will crack the whip and make sure you all fill out your weekly feedback before you go off and enjoy your Fridays.
Corey has a question. He wants to know if Trello and Agile are competitors.
Agile isn't a piece of software. Agile is a methodology. And you ask a great question. There is something called the Agile Manifesto. It looks like it is a website that came right out of the early 2000s because it is and hasn't been updated since. So this is the Agile Manifesto. This is so key to how I work day to day that I actually have a poster of the 12 different Agile Manifesto core principles. I'm not sure they have it listed here, 12 principles. So these are all worth reading. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a reading assignment for this weekend to go over these. You can see these are all 12. This is the 10 commandments for software developers and project managers who follow Agile. And this is it. This is all to Agile that there is. There are 4, 6, 8-hour courses out there on project management. You can actually go out and get certified from the Project Management Institute on project management. But you hear Agile thrown around all the time. And this is all Agile is this is how you should run your projects, and this is how you should do project management. Kanban itself, not directly tied to Agile. Trello, while you can use Trello and really use it in an Agile manner, it is not directly linked to Agile. Trello is unique in that it is pretty flexible, and however you choose to use it is fine. There are other project management tools out there that are a little more heavy-handed in saying, no, these are the core principles that you should use as part of this project, as part of your project management. But Agile itself, as long as you are following these 12 principles, that means that you are working agilely, if that's a word. One thing that you will find is a lot of older project managers will push back on this. While I was going through college, the professor laid out the curriculum, and Agile was in there for a week. And me being the snotty kid that I was, we were sitting in class one day and he went, "Oh, we're skipping over Agile. It's not important. No one's using that." And this was over 5 years ago. And I raised my hand and I said, well, I think Agile is really important. I think that's the up and coming project management technique. Can we cover it? And he said, well, no one uses it. And I said, well, I just finished an internship at Verizon and all of their software teams were using that. I think it's kind of important to cover it. And sure enough, he relented and eventually covered it. But it's definitely the dominant form in project management now. However, it is important to know about waterfall and kind of know what those two project management techniques are.
Carolyn is asking, what is Kanban?
Kanban is just the notion of you have 3 lists: to do, doing, and done. So Kanban is strictly those 3 lists. A lot of people will reference their Kanban board. And my traditional Kanban boards have 5 columns. They have your to do, doing, done that Kanban requires. And then you also have your backlog, which is things that are on your radar, but they're on your long-term radar. And then you also have your roadblock column. Now, Trello is really flexible in that you could label things as roadblocked. So if you pop into any one of these cards, you are able to apply a label to something. So I could edit this label, this red label, and say roadblocked, and then just click on it. And now when I come out of the board, you can see this is highlighted in red. And so this is a really great tool when you're collaborating, because I could pop this open, see that it's roadblocked, and then I may leave a comment on this card or a description as to why I'm roadblocked. And this is where Agile and Kanban get flexible, and Trello in particular, is that some teams prefer a label that says roadblocked. Other teams may create a list called roadblocked and put that over here because it's so important. That's the first thing they want to see. And instead of applying that label, they're just going to put this entire task into roadblocked, right? So there's a lot of flexibility here. There are a lot of different project management tools. Like I said, some are stricter than others, but Kanban is just the notion of to do, doing, and done.
Shah is asking, is Kanban a way of displaying data?
Essentially, yeah. If you consider every one of your tasks that you're working on is a piece of data, then yes, I would say that Kanban is a visualization of where your team is at. I worked at a startup accelerator a couple years ago, and one of the things the team was struggling on was like everyone was working so hard, no one knew what the status of anything was. And so the old school way of doing Kanban, so to speak, is to get out sticky notes. And every person has a different sticky note color. And they go to a whiteboard or a window or, a cork board or whatever. And everyone just up at the top, to do, doing, done, and maybe roadblocked and maybe backlogged. And everyone would just have a sticky of what tasks they were working on. And it was a really quick visual way for when someone finished all of their tasks and they had everything over it done, they were able to look at the board and see who had a lot of stickies in to do and start changing the color of those stickies to them and jumping on those tasks. But it's so easy to get lost in how many things we are doing and trying to accomplish in a bigger project that Kanban is a quick way to visualize that. Some people absolutely love Trello, and this is their brain, and this is what they go off of. Some people use notebooks, right? And they just cross things out and they use their punch list. Whatever works for you is completely fine. Trello is just a way that if I'm helping to mentor you on your capstone, I'm able to come in and look at where you're roadblocked and maybe provide you some resources. And when I give you those resources, you're going to go, this is great. I'm not working on this right now. And then all of a sudden you're going to go, oh, when did Max send those to me? How did he send them to me? Did he email them to me? Whatever it is. As long as I have edit access to your Trello board, I'm able to come over here and go, oh, you're stuck on setting up Trello. Let me pop this open and I can upload a video of some getting started with Trellos, or I can post a link in the comment of you should watch this, or maybe I just have a little piece of information to get you started. This is kind of anchoring you all into one place. This is your core that you can really get started in.
Corey is asking, what is the trend in industry, notebooks versus organization software? Any testimonials?
Absolutely. Everyone is unique in how they do their project management and how they keep their notes. I am a shining beacon of using project management software until 14 different people are messaging me on Slack that everything is broken. And then everything goes out the window. I get my notebook and I start writing things down. That is not everyone's perspective. The benefit of using digital project management tools is that it provides everyone a quick insight, right? So when my boss comes to me and says, hey, how are you doing? I can't take my notebook and hold it up and go, well, here's how I'm going, right? Even Zoom is blanking it out on me. Try and hold it up down here, right? That's not a good way of sharing where you're at in your project. So the benefit of a digital tool is that it is a quick for everyone to get an idea of where everyone is at. The other nice thing is you can filter your boards down. So you can go look at your Trello and go, I don't care what every other team member is working on, just show me my stuff. And that's a quick way to see it. With that said, there is nothing against using a notebook. There is nothing against having a whiteboard for all of this stuff. The important thing about project management is not the tool that you're using, it's that you are keeping your eye on project management itself. However you do that, as long as you find the system that works for you, and as long as your client is getting the deliverables and the insight that they need into the project, then that is completely fine. There are lots of project management tools out there. While Trello is probably the most popular one, there is one called Basecamp, which tends to be more freelance oriented and more keeping the client in the loop. There is another one called Monday.com that is super popular. Some people do all of their project management in a spreadsheet, in Google Sheets or Excel. That's also completely fine. Really, I personally like Trello a lot. At my company, we use a tool called Monday. Really does not matter what you end up using. As long as, again, it works for you and it works for your client, that's all that matters. Some people can't stand giving their clients access to their project management tool because all of a sudden the client thinks they can micromanage. And when I say client, by the way, I don't necessarily just mean a freelancer. It could be another department in your company or someone who is waiting for that feature to come out or whatever it is. So some clients will see that as an opportunity to micromanage and go, well, why isn't this done? Or why haven't you updated your board? Or, well, how long is that going to take? Other clients will go the complete opposite direction and go, well, thanks for sharing that with me, but I don't really care. Just let me know when you have the deliverables done. So really up to you on how much you want to share with your client. And if they start micromanaging, you learn after a certain amount of time what kind of clients are gonna micromanage and what other clients are gonna really appreciate the visibility into the process. Other questions? Carolyn, are you saying something? All right. We are going to do a really quick overview on file structure. And again, this is going to be one of those things that seems like common sense until it comes back to bite you. So we're going to talk a little bit about our GitHub repository. So GitHub uses a technology called, anyone? Carolyn? Git, you got it.
Git.
And does can anyone name another company that uses Git?
Kraken?
GitKraken is one of them. GitKraken is what they call a Git UI. So what we mean by that is Git is actually was actually created by Linus Torvalds. Anyone know what Linus Torvalds is known for creating?
Linux.
Yes, good job, Susan. So this one guy sat down and just created Linux, and he was working with a source control management system, source code management, also abbreviated as SCM. And he went, this stinks. I can't collaborate with developers. We're running into issues where people have had these files checked out, and I want to work on those files at the same time, but I can't. I'm locked out of them. So he came up with this system called Git. And the notion of Git was that you have a local copy of your code on your computer. And you also have something called the remote. And what you're able to do is when you're working on your code, you commit your code into your local repository. Once you have your code committed into your local repository, you are able to push your code up into your remote. And then if someone else is working on some code and you would like to retrieve that code, you're able to pull that code from the remote down to your local repository. So the key fundamentals of Git, it's so easy to get lost in it, but keep in mind that Git is a two-part system. One, you have your local repository, and then you also have your remote repository. And the way that you sync from those is you pull or you push code up or down from the remote. So we are going to be utilizing a tool called GitKraken next week that helps you understand what Git is and understand what all those terminologies do. Right now, what you want to focus on is that we are going to what is called clone a repository. If you guys have already done that, great. But what I want to do is go over the repository file structure. And so we're going to look at how I set up module 1 and then also kind of give you guys tips for how to organize your own. The reason why this is important is we are going to be working on probably hundreds of different files over the course of this curriculum. And so what you want to do is make sure that you have them organized in a way that you can find them and import them, manage them, upload them for assignments, all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to github.com. And I have a quick access link here because it's a recent repository that I've been in for Careers in Code Classroom Code Base. I'm going to click on that and shoot that link into the Zoom chat. The other way you can find it is if you're back on the homepage, you can do a search for Hack Upstate, all as one word. And that's going to take you to this page, which is less specific than I thought it was. So I'm going to click on users over on the left, and that's going to give me access to the Hack Upstate user. If I click into that, it is going to give me access to all of these repositories. The one that we want is this Careers in Code classroom code base. Now, I really haven't been using this much because everything that I've been covering so far this week has not been code oriented. That is going to change next week. If you thought this was a fire hose, wait until Karen gets in and starts running with HTML next week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Cohort 2, and this is the file structure that we recommend, by the way. Create folders for each one of your modules, and you can do this in Finder. You don't have to use the terminal to do it, but I recommend that you create a folder for each module. Then I also recommend that you create a folder for each day. Even if you end up copying and pasting your code in from the previous day into the next day, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to see the progress of your code as you iterate on it, as you add more and more features to it. So if you pop open something like Let's Get Coding, what you're going to see is I have start files and finish files. Now, you probably don't need this for when you're organizing your own code, but the idea here is that if you go into start, you can see I created a file in here called Hello World. And so we can pop that open and see that I have a console log Hello World. So after the break, we are going to practice cloning this and then running this code. The other idea of keeping your code organized in this manner is that I have a finish folder in here as well, right? So at the end of day 3, I thought we were going to have this file created. Now, the reasoning behind that is that you may fall behind after a day. The instructor may have something done, and you're going to worry about, how do I catch up on that? Sorry for my dog barking in the background. So what we're going to do is have a finish file for you. So when you start the next day, if you're behind, you're able to copy that file and get right in there. And so that's just a way that you can catch up. So what I'm going to recommend that you do, and we're going to practice this after the break, we're going to clone this repo. And when we clone, we just copy something from our remote down onto our local computer. From there, I would recommend that you guys create your own folder on your desktop or in your documents called Careers in Code. Remember, we don't like spaces, so you will probably want to camel case that. We are then going to create a module 1 folder inside of there, and then we're going to create our first JavaScript file and also run it in the terminal. So I know that's a lot, and I know that I've been pushing you guys on breaks until later, so I'm going to be good and give you guys a break now. And then we are going to jump into managing all of these folders and cloning and all of that stuff.
Quick question before we go on the break. Corey wants to know, he mentioned that earlier this week we spoke of illegal hacking. How is the security of these project management tools? Absolutely.
So there are 3 large companies that provide Git in the cloud. GitHub is one of them. Bitbucket is another. Bitbucket is owned by Atlassian, who also creates Trello. Well, they didn't create it. They now bought Trello and own Trello. And then the third one is becoming more and more popular. It's a company called GitLab, G-I-T-L-A-B. None of those companies own Git. There is often association that GitHub and Git are the same thing. And that's a good thing to break you out of right at the beginning. GitHub does not own Git. Git is an open source project. So anyone can go in, they can see how Git works, they can make modifications to it, and it's a large community that maintains it. And that's the notion of open source software. This software that anyone can use and improve and maintain and all of that kind of stuff. With that said, GitHub, yeah, great job, Max. GitHub is the largest company that uses Git. So GitHub is built all around Git and really utilizes it. Long story there, but a lot of companies, most companies will store their source control code in a cloud provider like Bitbucket, GitHub, or GitLab. There are also companies that are worried that their code is intellectual property, and they will worry about the security, and then they can host what is called Git on site, where they can set up their own Git server and manage all of their code on local hardware. With all of that said, GitHub has rarely had a security incident. That source control is pretty tight in terms of who they allow access to the code and who they don't. You could have a repository that is set to be public, which means anyone can view the code, but the only way the person can change the code is if they put in something called a pull request or a merge request. And these are Git concepts that basically allow anyone to ask, hey, I have some code that I committed here. I would like this to be merged back into the repository. There are also repositories that are private. All of our company code is in a private repository. I grant access to that code to people on my team, and they create an account and they get in there fine. But it's not like you could just do a search for my company name or my username and instantly get access to that code. So all of the code is protected with a username and password. There's a lot of security that you can require. Our company requires a 2-factor authentication. So in addition to the developer needing to know the password, they also have to get a code from their phone. So the security around all of that is normally pretty good. But again, security is one of those things that security is only as good as you make it. So they can provide you all the tools that you want, but at the end of the day, if you have a public repository and are putting, passwords into that repository, anyone will have access to that. So before you go, I'm going to switch back to my Trello board. I'm going to move my setup Trello over into my done, because that is a common thing to forget to update. And then we are going to skip keeping your files organized all the way over to the done. And we're going to get started on the hello world when we come back from break. Any questions? Who here is celebrating the fact that we're breaking before 7 o'clock? All right. Alina, there will kind of be open office hours tonight. I'm going to go through the hello world, and then I'm going to leave the rest of the class open to any questions, whether that's you're stuck on an install issue, whether that's you can't get Node running, whether that's I just have questions because it's the end of the week. So I'm hoping that we'll have a good 30-ish minutes, if not more, at the end of class to answer any questions. But if not, we will have office hours this weekend. And when you come back from the break, I will tell you when they will be.
What time do you want them back from break?
Great question. Let's say 7:10. Awesome. And yes, Alina, that is why I added Bitwarden to that list, because I knew you guys were going to get password overloaded. So I'm happy to go over that with you. And I'll be here during the break if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, we'll see you at 7:10.
Hey, Max.
Hey, what's up?
Max, do I copy git clone into the terminal?
Yeah, so you're going to copy git clone and the URL. In Google Docs, it looks like it's 2 separate lines. It all goes together on the same line. But before you hit enter, after you paste it, or before you even paste it, you want to make sure that wherever you're running that is where you want the files to be created. So if you're in terminal and you want the files to be created on your desktop, you're going to want to pwd, see what path you're in. If you're in your username folder, you can cd into the desktop. So cd space desktop with a capital D and hit enter there. And then you can paste in that git clone line and hit enter. And you'll see a new folder gets created on your desktop called Careers in Code Classroom. And I'm going to go over all of that as well as soon as people get back from the break in case they have any questions.
Yeah, I keep getting no such file or directory every time I try it.
You're pasting that git clone and the URL. You're muted. If you want to share your screen, I may be able to help.
Oh, I'm not on the Mac right now.
Are you on Windows? Yeah, Windows uses a completely different set of terminal commands. And so almost none of the commands that are in that list are actually going to run on Windows.
Max, did you want us to create folders?
If you want to get a jump start on it, you
Oh,
can.
no, if we're doing that later, I was just, okay. Okay.
I broke out my my third monitor so I don't overwhelm you guys on a screen share with a giant screen where you're all squinting to see it.
Excuse me, Max.
Shoot.
This is Latonia. Will you be sharing more links this evening? I'm working on the other Mac. So when you put in a link, I have to basically like type it in. If there's a way you can maybe share, start a Google Doc, because I do have the classroom open, or
Absolutely.
just some kind of way where I can access it on this other Mac instead of the chat.
I don't believe I'm going to be using any other links tonight.
Okay.
The only link that you may need is that git clone one, and that is in the install list from last night.
Okay, wait, do I have to install it? Oh, because we're going to be cloning.
We're going to be cloning, yeah. And I'll show you guys another way to get around the clone if you don't have git installed. But that will be something that you will need for next week if we didn't manage to get git installed.
Okay, yeah, I can get into that document fine. I just the stuff that's going in the chat, I couldn't. I had to just type it out. So okay,
Gotcha.
Well, thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Latanya,
Yes.
the stuff that's going into the chat, I can put that into the Slack resources. Will that be okay for you to grab them from there?
Oh yeah, I can. I have Slack on this computer too. I can open that up. Yep. I just need a way that I can pluck it out.
Yeah, that's the plan moving forward, to make sure that those
Yeah.
will be available to you in resources. Okay.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks.
In addition, starting, I'm going to try to get it all set by tomorrow. You will have access to these chats in addition to the video. So I just started setting that up last night. So I'm going to review, and then if there's anyone, I've just been trying to type in the different things that are being discussed just as a point of reference.
Yeah.
So it's not a full set of notes, but it'll just give you more context if you don't have access to the video. You can go back through the chat and say, oh, well, what were some of the things that we discussed? So
yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty decent job of trying to keep track.
Yeah, and I've been copying and pasting that out when you put it in there.
Oh, good.
The only thing I didn't,
I said good.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I asked for someone just to check the notes, because like I could be mishearing or what have you, but I have been plucking that out.
Yeah.
So that we have it. So it'll be nice to know that there's another resource. you know,
I
that I'll
will.
have
I
them.
will probably go through those notes sometime this weekend. I know there are a couple things that I owe you guys, like going through the rest of the stack list and categorizing them. And I've got a couple diagrams that I want to post for you guys. But I'll also go through those notes and just clean them up if anything looks inaccurate. But I think that will be super helpful for all the students to have that base. So I appreciate you doing that. And
Okay.
also, Dana, thank you for closed captioning things into the chat.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I hadn't made it public yet, because we hadn't actually discussed final format if it was just going to be raw chat. But the students had access pretty much to everything through copy and paste while classes in session. So I didn't want to pass over anything that looked kind of messy or possibly inaccurate. So we'll have time to do that and get it up.
Yeah. And I just want to apologize. I didn't mean to add to anybody's to-do list. You know, I just, it helps me. I'm one of those people who learns by doing it, but also writing and all that. So, you know, just trying to.
You'll learn as a developer that adding to other people's to-do lists is kind of just part of the job.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not that you add it at all. Actually, the copying and pasting of the links into the resources channel is already in progress.
Great.
So if you've looked at the resources channel, you'll see that links are already being shared over there.
Now, do we get an alert for the resources channel? I feel like I did on one, but I just feel like I may be missing stuff in there. Do I need to go in there?
You don't have to go in there right now. I'm just saying that is another place that you can look for.
Okay.
I've tried to put the important ones in there right now. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on in class and I don't want to overwhelm you. So I'm only putting the important ones in there that you can look at and you just get a bunch of information and it's easy to read.
Yeah.
So if I find a link and it doesn't look like it's going to be good for you all with you just starting out, I'm not putting it over in resources.
Gotcha. Okay. And how's your applesauce going? You said you were starting to replace your Oreos with applesauce. Is that working for
My
you?
Oreos and my cheesecake.
Cheesecake. I love cheesecake.
Yes, I love it a bit too much. I'm actually snacking tonight on zucchini.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, so I've been doing pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you gotta get away from the sugar sometimes.
I know I'm horrible. I like to mix mine up. I'll do one healthy, one not, just to try to balance everything out.
Exactly. Gonna run and grab something to drink. I'll be right back.
This is really screwed up. I'm gonna jump to another student and I'll come back to you.
Okay. But I should not proceed with that other part yet, right? Okay.
Yeah, hold off on that.
Sure,
You've
fine.
got some user file permissions that even sudo is not letting you into. And so we're gonna have to work out how to fix that.
No problem. I get it.
I'm guessing there's some security package that got installed that's blocking you from using developer tools, but we'll come back to you. So for now, if you could stop sharing your screen.
Yes, sir. All set?
Oh, Alina, you have the same problem?
Yeah, that's the issue that I was having like originally when I was telling Jesse that I had issues, and then he ran through like a bunch, I don't know, he sent me an email with a bunch of like links that I could try to do to configure the issue, but I couldn't figure it out. So I just, he recommended that I set up an appointment with Apple. So I have that scheduled for Tuesday.
Are you still having that problem trying to follow the steps that I just did?
I was doing that on my personal, I'm not sure.
Okay. Is anyone else stuck at LS operation not permitted?
Actually, I think I got as far as what is that? When the directory CIC, I got that far, and after that, it was.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen and we'll see where you're at?
Will do.
And
Okay.
if we get one more person stuck at the same spot, I'm going to show you a way around that issue. And I'm wondering, Dana, if the software installed on all the laptops is creating some file permissions issues.
Okay, so should I share desktop one or terminal? It says terminal unknown.
Desktop one, which is going to share your whole screen with us.
Okay. Allow Zoom to share your screen. Open system preferences.
Yep. And then you're going to have to click on the lock in the bottom left after system preferences opens. And then you're going to want to type in your Mac password after you click on the lock.
Wait a minute, where's my system preferences?
Did you click the open system preferences button?
No, I have no idea where I'm at. I'm seeing your screen for whatever reason. It doesn't, I don't know what's going on here.
So, Shaw, you had the same LS operation not permitted. Can I just get a head nod?
Mine is saying open system operations, but when I click on that, I don't see anything open.
Hi, Max. Yes.
Okay.
So but I had the same issue, but it's fixed. I fixed it.
Do you know how you fixed it?
Yes, you could go to system preferences.
Okay.
Security, privacy and security. And then privacy. Click on files and folders. The terminal under terminal desktop and folder was unchecked. So I checked that one.
Absolutely genius. This is why we work together as a class. And to prove to prove that your instructors do not know everything. So we're going to go to Apple at the top left. Whoever is stuck on operation not permitted, we're going to go to Apple in the top left and drop down to system preferences. And then we are going to go over to security and privacy again, where we just were at to enable Zoom screen sharing. And then we're going to go up to privacy up here at the top. So if it looks like this, you're going to click on privacy right here. And then we're going to drop down to files and folders. And then in this long list of things, you should be able to find terminal here. And if you have this locked in the bottom, go ahead and click on that lock. If it looks like it's already unlocked, don't click. But if it's locked, click on that, and it may ask you for your fingerprint or your password. So you can go ahead and type in your Mac password there and hit OK. And then you should have the ability to check desktop under terminal. And while we're in here, if you also find VS Code, you should also check desktop and documents for that as well.
I think my issue here is navigating in this what do you call it, MacBook here?
Yep.
Because I can't move anything. I made it to security and privacy, but as far as being able to move things up and down, I'm not.
So you're going to use 2 fingers on the trackpad to scroll.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So
you want to get the mouse in the right spot to scroll. And then if you use 2 fingers on your trackpad, you can push up or down, and that's going to scroll the list for you.
okay. And I am going to where?
Files and folders.
Okay.
And then you want to make sure, like on my screen right now, it has the lock unlocked. If
Okay.
it looks like it is a closed lock, then you want to click on that to unlock it.
Okay. My password.
Yep, and that's going to be your Mac password.
Oh.
So Dana knows that when I start teaching coding, there are some bugs that I will actually build into my code so you guys can learn how to debug the code. Dana will also say that I intentionally planted that when I'm stuck and actually have no idea what is wrong.
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
And that I hope to come off that way, right? Is sometimes I will bring up a bug because we want to teach you guys not only how to write your code, but how to also debug your code, figure out why it's not working, right? But there are examples like tonight, which I am happy to admit to, that, we were stuck on this and I didn't know how to get around it. And so, you guys feel free, like Shaw did, to chime in and say, this is how I got around it, or this is how I fixed it. And I noticed in the chat, Caitlin chimed in and said that was an operating system update that prevented the terminal from working and having access to all of your files. So again, this is Apple trying to protect us, but really what's happening is it's blocking us from getting access to it. So Alina, I noticed it isn't working. So if you want to share your screen and we can try and get through it.
And while she's sharing her screen, there's an interesting question in the chat that I want to ask your opinion about, Max. So some folks already had an Apple ID before starting careers in code.
Yep.
And so someone mentioned that I had told them to use the same one that they already had. That made sense to me at the time. Another student was told to start a new one. And the basis for my recommendation is because I know that when you're putting your Google account across different phones and computers, it tends to bring all of your preferences along with it. So that was my reasoning for saying use the same Apple ID. What if you were posed with that question, or if I were to buy a new MacBook, which I'm thinking about doing in the near future, what do you recommend going across different platforms? Use
Absolutely.
the same ID or a different one?
So for hardware that you own, definitely use the same account. That is going to make everything easier. Everything's going to sync over. One benefit of being in the Apple ecosystem, meaning you own multiple Apple products, sync just works really well. So on a Mac, if you have an iPhone and they're both signed into the same Apple ID, when you open up messages, all of a sudden you can start texting. And it doesn't require any additional authentication, and any messages sent to your iPhone show up on your Mac. Where you want to be careful is company-owned equipment or equipment that is loaned to you. It is fine to use your same Apple ID while you have the hardware, but before you send that computer back, you're going to want to make sure that you, 1, sign out of your iCloud account, and 2, wipe the computer. And there are Apple instructions on how to do that. When Hack Upstate receives the computers back, we will go through the process of wiping the computer. However, you don't want to leave it up to the IT department that you're sending the company hardware back to wipe the computer on their own. So before you send that computer back, it's a good idea to, 1, sign out of a personal iCloud account, and then 2, also to wipe the computer. You're muted,
Okay.
Dana.
So I'm lost in the sauce. We were checking system preferences for what end?
For files and folders.
Okay.
And I was just asking if Corey had a question, so that was right on time, Corey.
Oh, good.
Okay. Go back to system preferences.
Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
And when he's done, can I share mine? Because I think I'm good and I want to be sure,
Okay.
unless someone else needs to go before me. All right.
Because I never really got as far as Zoom here in the files and folders, so maybe I can go along with Corey. I don't know.
Okay. So Corey's at the right spot. He's got system preferences opened from the Apple menu up at the top down to system preferences. He clicked on security and privacy, which is the icon in the 3rd row on the right. He clicked on the lock down in the bottom, and now he is at this screen, and he's got terminal desktop folder checked, which is where we want to be. That's good. So we're going to go back to the terminal. Corey,
Folders.
what's that?
We don't want to be in files and folders.
You want to be in files and folders, and you want to make sure that desktop is checked on the right under terminal.
Terminal desktop folder.
And as long as that is checked, now when we go back to the terminal and we run PWD.
Did you say PWD?
Yep. We're going to see this long pass of where you're in. And so you're in careers and code, classroom code base, which means you cloned the repo already. You made it into cohort 2. You're in module 1. You're in 3. Let's get started. And you're in the start folder. That's all great. So you're 1 command away from running your first lines of code. And so what you're going to do is you're going to type in node, NODE space, and then you're going to type in HE and hit tab. And what that's going to do is it's going to auto-complete the hello world for you. And you're going to hit enter, and you got hello world back. So you're cooking with gas right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up VS Code. So in order to open up VS Code, we can go to that applications folder that you already have open, your leftmost window. Yep, go ahead and click that. And now you're going to scroll down to VS Code. It should be towards the bottom. And again, if you want to scroll with 2 fingers on your trackpad, that's a quick way to scroll as well.
I bought a mouse.
Oh, that works too. So it looks like you don't have VS Code installed yet. So
that from the homework?
From the homework, yeah. So let's see if you have it downloaded. So let's go to your downloads folder, which if you look in your doc, yep, you got it. Click on that. And we don't even have it there, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Chrome or Safari, and we're going to open a new tab. Command T will open a new tab for you.
You got, oh, okay. Command T.
And we're going to just type in VS space code and hit enter. And we're going to click on that download link. And then all the way under the Mac button, there's a little tiny button that says Apple Silicon. And you're going to click on that. And then wait 1 second. And now it's going to take a little while to download that. But once that is downloaded, you'll click on it to open it. And then I'm going to come back to you.
Got it.
So stop
On
your
share.
screen share, and I'm going to try and help the next student.
Brandy wants to know if a factory reset counts as a computer wipe.
It does.
Great question, Brandy.
Corey, you should have a red stop share button somewhere.
Right there.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Who's up for the next beating?
Susan said she's still stuck.
Okay. Susan, you want to share your screen? And don't forget to unmute after you start your share.
Yeah, share screen. Okay. All right, can you see it?
I can. So you're making good progress. What we're going to
Yeah.
do, you're in module 1. And so
Right.
let's LS. You make, yep, there you go. And now here are your options. Start isn't an option yet because you need to go one level deeper. So
Okay.
what we can do here is 3 let's get coding is where we want to get to. But if you look over on the left, you can get a good visual of where all of those folders are.
Yeah.
So we want to get to Hello World ultimately, which is in start, which is in 3 let's get coding. So you should CD space 3. And then if you hit tab, it's going to autocomplete and enter. And now
Yeah.
you can CD into your start
Yeah.
and enter. And now you can node space hello tab and enter. And you just ran your first line of code.
So Node is a program or something? Like, I'm kind of confused what is happening here.
Yeah, so Node is a terminal level program that we just installed. So Node is just like CD and LS and all of those things. CD, LS, those are all commands that are built into the operating system, right? Those are operating system level commands. However, there are other commands that we need to install. And so in order to do that, we installed Brew or Homebrew. Now with Homebrew, we can install other command line level tools like Node. And so last night we brew install Node. And that's what allowed us to run the Node command in a terminal.
So Node is reading the code?
Node
kind
is
of?
reading the hello world.js file that you passed into it.
Okay.
And so now if we go up at the top and change hello world
Yeah.
between the exclamation point and the quote, which don't worry,
Yeah.
we'll be going over all that syntax. Yep, you can type in whatever. And
Yeah.
now you want to hit Command S. And you want to hit Command S while you're in that top window.
Well, I'm right here.
Yep. And so now you just save that file. So you can now go back into your terminal. Now you could go old school and type in node hello world again, or you could hit the up arrow and enter.
Well, it saves you a step. That's cool.
And so now you're running your own code. So if you
Interesting.
want to get really fancy, and then I'm cutting you off, you can go on down to line 2.
Yeah.
And you're going to type in your console.log again. And you're going to do parentheses. But instead of doing quotes this time, you're going to type in 1 + 2 or 5 + 6 or whatever you want. Go crazy. Okay, and now you want to put a semicolon at the end of that line. But be careful.
Oh, outside?
Yep. And now you're going to hit Command S again and jump back down into your terminal.
Yep.
And up and enter. Oh, you're doing math. You're too fancy for me. Get off the screen share.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Congrats.
Yay.
All right. Who's up for more torture?
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Carolyn?
I just want to be sure my terminal looks good to go with the Visual Studio part.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen.
All right.
Okay, so you have, okay, go ahead. Yep, you're good.
Where'd he go? Hold on. He went and hid on me.
You can just click on one of the 2 VS Code logos in the bottom of the dock. It looks like a ribbon almost all the way on the
Yeah,
right.
there's something going on there I gotta figure out, but anyway, there we go. Can you still see my terminal?
No. Try the second VS Code. Okay. Right click on that by using 2 fingers on your trackpad and clicking.
Does it have to be the bottom right corner,
No, it should just be 2 fingers
anywhere on the right side?
anywhere on the trackpad. And then go up to quit. And then repeat that process on the other one.
Okay.
And then force quit that one. Okay,
Oh.
and now,
Oh, there's another one there.
no, you're, okay, there we go. So we're gonna go to Finder in the bottom left. Yep, and we're gonna click on Applications on the left. And then we're gonna go open Visual Studio Code.
Did I click it twice or?
Yep,
Right?
click it twice.
All right. Actually, I have to click on the icon.
Then go down to the dock, the thing that's bouncing up and down.
Oh, I don't see it now. Was it? Oh, there he is. He's jumping. Okay.
And then click on that. Left click, I'm sorry, just a regular click. Okay.
Yeah, and I was trying to troubleshoot that today and I couldn't find it anywhere.
You're gonna, if you reboot, come back into the Zoom meeting, and then I will, after a reboot, it should open up.
The whole computer reboot?
The whole computer, yep.
All right,
See you soon.
don't go away.
All right, everyone run. Oh, wait, she's not gone yet.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Go reboot, we'll see you in a couple. All right, who's up
Can you hear me?
next? Yes, I can, Corey.
Oh, so I it downloaded and it just gives me the start screen here.
Can you share your screen again?
Yep. So.
And I totally understand we're at 8:30, which is getting late, and I can only hold you captive this long. Right before you go, though, I'm going to tell you when office hours are. I'm happy to stick around and help. If you want to come to office hours, that's fine. Otherwise, I will pass you off to Karen, who I believe is listening and who will be your instructor next week. By an overwhelming majority, the best time for everyone was 11 a.m. on Saturday. Karen, if you're on the call, I'm going to have to push you. So for everyone else on the call, I will be in this room at 11 a.m. on Zoom. If you would like to come, and it's completely optional, come with questions, come just for the audience. Otherwise, I will see you guys in a couple weeks when I am teaching next. But Saturday, 11 a.m. In this Zoom room, and I will send a link out in Slack as well, just as a reminder. Saturday will be recorded. We will put that up on YouTube. But Saturday, 11 a.m., this Zoom link. Okay, Corey, you've got it installed. That's awesome. So now what we need to do, actually, let me make sure you have this installed. We're going to click in VS Code and hit Command Q.
Click into VS Code.
VS Code, yep, and hit Command Q.
Command Q.
And that's going to quit. And then where you want to go to the Finder window, the file browser over on the, yep. Okay, so here's a common mistake. Is this downloaded right into your downloads folder? But we never want to run an application from downloads.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag VS Code over into applications. And now when we click on applications, we can scroll down to the bottom and we'll find VS Code there. So now we're going to pop that open. And now we're cooking with gas. So we're going to go to File, Open up in the top.
I can't see because
You can also hit
Oh, wait a
Command
minute, wait a
O.
minute, right. File, no. It's,
If you can just hit Command, click in VS Code, and then hit Command O. What's happening there is the Zoom toolbar is getting in the way. So now we need to find where we cloned your repository. So we're going to click on Desktop,
mhm.
and then CIC, and then Careers and Code Codebase, and we're going to hit Open there. And so now we have, and then hit OK. So now we've got access to all the files. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the arrow next to Cohort 2. Then we're going to go to Module 1. Then we're going to go to 3, Let's Get Coding. And then we're going to open up Start. Then we're going to open up Hello World. And so we finally can see some code here. And this is the code that we want to run. So we're going to go to Terminal up at the top. And open in the Zoom screen share, right next to Stop Share, there should be like a little arrow. Don't click on Stop Share, but you should be able to click the little arrow pointing down, and that should shoot the toolbar to the bottom of the screen. And now you should be able to get access to Terminal up at the top. And New Terminal. And so again, this terminal is a little different because instead of starting you at the home folder, it's starting you in your project folder. So to prove that, we're going to run pwd. And now that shows us we're not just in Corey Hudson, we're in Corey Hudson, Desktop, CIC, Careers and Code, Classroom Codebase.
Got it.
So we need to CD all the way down. So all those folders we opened on the left, we need to CD all the way through them. So we're going to start with Cohort -2. Make sure you got a space in there. And then Cohort tab. And now if you do a slash there, we can get fancy and start chaining them together. So yep. And now you can type in MOD tab.
Oh, got it. Mm-hmm.
And that's going to type
Scroll
in
down.
Yep, module -1 slash.
Oh, 3 let's. Mm-hmm.
And now just hit tab.
Tab.
And that's going to auto-complete it for you. And now we have one more folder we got to get in, and that's the start folder.
Oh.
And hit enter.
Enter.
And now we just CD'd all the way down there. So to prove we just CD'd all the way down there, PWD. And now you're going to see this long path that we made it all the way down all those folders.
What happened?
Enter. There we
Oh.
go. So you made it all the way down into the start folder. So all we need to do is type in node, NODE space, and then HE tab. And that's going to auto-complete hello world for us. So when we run that, you got hello world.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can go up into the code in the top half of the window and change any part of that hello world. So you can, before the quote, yep, right in there, you can hit space and type in a couple words. And now don't forget to Command S because you need to save that file before you run it. And now you're going to go back down to the terminal.
Back down to the terminal.
And click into the terminal. Yep. And up. And then enter. The up arrow. The up, yeah, there you go. And now enter. And now it says, hello world, it's me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So you made it. You've written your first code. You've executed and run your first code. Stop sharing your screen. Get out. Next.
Yep, thanks.
Congrats.
Thank you. Stop share.
So I rebooted. It went well. You never
Welcome
know.
back. You want to share your screen?
There she is.
I think I'd love to do that. All right, here we go. Let's see. I got to get in there. I'm getting punchy. Okay, hold on. If someone wants to go while I'm playing here. All right, where are you?
You all are having too much fun.
Actually, yes and no. Oh no, you want to see Visual Studio, you want to see my terminal. Where'd my terminal go? I gotta get, okay. Let me get this ready and I'll get back to you real
We
quick.
can jump right
Other
into
people
VS
are
Code
hang-
if you want. You don't even need your terminal open.
Oh, all right, so I can just go right into Visual Studio?
Yep.
All right,
Any command that you can run in the terminal in VS Code, you can run in the regular terminal and vice versa. VS Code is just trying to be nice and giving you access to the terminal without having to have two things open.
oh, so it's the same. It's the
Same terminal. Yep.
All right, so let's see, I was trying to put Visual Studio in the Zoom thing, but I'll just move back and forth. All right, I have Visual Studio.
First, share your screen from Zoom.
Except now it will be my Zoom's, oh, never mind. Yeah,
Well,
I
do
don't,
screen.
no, I
Okay.
jumping ahead of myself. All right, got it. Thank you so much. All right, that good?
Yep, you're in. So we're gonna go to File up at the top and drop down to Open Folder. If the Zoom thing's in your way, you can also hit Command and O.
Okay, so File is under this very left bar.
So up at the top, do you see where it says your screen sharing? And it's that Zoom toolbar.
I'm in Studio, but it's, oh, you are screen sharing. Yes.
So there's a button that says Stop Share. Don't click
Yes.
on that. But
No.
over on that same row, there's a little arrow that's pointing down.
Oh, it's a cloud with like a flashing red arrow.
Underneath that, there should be an arrow that points to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, to the left of the your screen sharing, and the
Yeah,
green
so-
bar is like a curly arrow.
Yep, click on that, and that's
Oh,
going to
good.
shoot the toolbar down to the bottom so you can see everything that's up at the top.
Wow.
Okay, so now you should have access to File up at the top. And drop down to Open. Regular Open. Yep, you got it. And we are going to go to your desktop and your CIC folder.
Should I just click on it or?
Yep.
Click the arrow or?
Click
just like
on,
that?
yep, click on it's fine. And then do you have the long folder name that says code base in it?
Oh, to see what's in it? Here?
Yeah.
Careers in, yes.
Okay, so click on that and then click on open in the bottom right. Okay, you made it. You got the Git repo open in your code.
Okay, and it wants to access files in my full desktop.
Give it
that's
permission. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to bury down through all of those folders. So we're going to click on the arrow next to Cohort 2 over on the left. And then we're going to open up Module 1. And then we're going to open up 3, Let's Get Coding. And then we're going to open up Start. And then finally, we're going to open up Hello World. So you thought I was going to make it easier on you guys. I wanted to give you all the folders to dig down into. So now we need to open a terminal in VS Code. So we're going to go back up to the top and we're going to click on the menu bar, put your mouse on, yep, there you go, and go over to Terminal and then New Terminal. Slide over to the right, Terminal should be another option in the menus.
I'm sorry, up here. in the
Yep,
file.
keep going further to the right. Keep going to the word that says terminal.
Oh, there it is. I gotta make this bigger. I can't see it. Okay, and then new
New
terminal.
terminal. Yep. Okay, so we now need to, first of all, we need to know where we're at. So we're going to run pwd
Right down in this window
Yep.
here. Okay.
Enter. And now we see we're not just in your home folder where regular terminal opens. We're in your desktop careers and code and the careers and code base folder. So what
Which
we
you
need
should
to
be.
do, yep, that's where we should be. So we need to CD all the way down. So all those folders that we opened on the left, we need to now open through your terminal. So we're going to CD and space, and now we're going to type in cohort and hit tab. And so it's saying, I don't know, do you want cohort 1 or do you want cohort 2? So we're going to hit 2 and a slash.
Okay. So it's
And then we're going to chain all of these folders together. So we want to go into module 1. So if you type in MO and hit tab, it's going to auto-complete as much as it can, but then it needs to know that you're going into 1. So we're going to do another slash. And then it goes, where do you want to go now? Well, we want to go into 3, let's get coding. And so and I'm pulling all this from the file structure on the left, by the way. So I'm going to type in 3 and hit tab.
3 tab, it will, okay, great.
And now one more folder to go. We're going to go into the start folder. So this is a good example of if you don't know where I'm pulling all of these names from, you would stop and go, how do you know to get into all these folders? And I'm, again, pulling all of this from the left. So in that tree where we expanded all of those folders down, that's the exact path that I'm following.
So do I need another slash after start?
No, because we want to just get into that start folder. So we're finally going to hit enter down in the terminal. Just click there and then hit the enter key. And so we think we made it there, but we're going to run PWD.
All right, I just gotta minimize my, there we go, because I couldn't see my code with the people's pictures. PWD.
And hit enter. And now look at that super long path. We're in all of those folders.
Nice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to run your first program. We're going to type in node, NODE, space, hello, tab. Lowercase h. And then just hit the tab key and hit enter. And what you're going to get is hello world. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the code where it says console log hello world. And we're going to change between the quote and the exclamation. You can type in your name or whatever you want. And you're going to hit Command S because we need to save that file before we can run it. And now we're going to go down back to the terminal and we're going to hit up and enter.
UP?
No, I'm sorry, the up arrow key on your keyboard. And what that's going to do is it's just going to run it's going to type in the last command that you just ran.
Oh, right. I remember. I wrote that down. Okay.
And there you go.
Cool.
All right.
You know, it's so easy once you like go through it and you hear it a few times and it starts to kind of.
Did you just say it's so easy?
No, I mean, it's like once you know how to do it, it's easy. That's the thing. And getting there is like, but you're so good at explaining it and so patient.
All right, you're running code.
Good.
Stop sharing your screen. Get out.
Yes, sir. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See you guys. All right, who's next?
Who's next? Who's next?
Corey, why are you still here? You already ran your code.
Oh, I'm just reviewing. Make
All
sure.
right.
But is VS Code the platform? Is that
VS Code is a code editor.
code editor? Got it. Okay, got it.
Also sometimes called an IDE, an integrated development environment.
Got it. So it connected with our terminal and then lets us write code.
Yes.
Got it.
And you know, this repetition builds your muscle memory too, which Max is also really big on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you noticed when Carolyn was screen sharing, I couldn't see parts of her screen, but I still, because I have done it so many times, can tell you where to click, even if I don't have it right in front of me. So this is something that becomes so natural that you just get the hang of it. All right, who wants to share?
I think I'm having trouble.
Yeah, I can't share my screen, but I'm in Hello World. I just can't get the code to save. I'm pressing Command S, and when I press up Enter, it doesn't register.
So when you press up, what text fills into the terminal?
The last terminal request, which is node Hello World JS.
Okay, and it's printing out hello world, but not the changes you made?
It's not printing out the changes.
Okay, if you when you command S, you have to be in the top part of like where you're typing in the code itself, not in the terminal.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, you're muted.
So the white bubble goes away, so I know it's saved. So when I try to,
You muted again, Mel.
you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you just point your camera at the laptop screen? Okay, and is it printing out that the console log on the second line? Can you read me letter for letter what that says?
Console log parentheses 7+8 semicolon.
And the 7+8 is in parentheses closing on both sides. And
Yes.
then when in your terminal, it is just printing out the hello world. It's not printing out hello world. And then on the next line, 15.
Right. And on the first console log, I changed it to hello Mel, and that didn't change either.
Can we go to file and then drop down to save? So do it with the non-keyboard shortcut, although that doesn't make any sense because you said the dot's disappearing. In your terminal, can you PWD? And does the end of the file path say to have the start folder?
Yes. Go all the way from cohort to module 1 to let's get coding to start. It's just not registering the terminal when I save it.
Try this command, cat space and then HE tab. And if you run that, it should print out console.log. And
Yes.
I'm guessing it says hello world.
Still says hello world.
Did you do the step where you went into system preferences, files and folders and gave VS Code access?
Yep.
Try quitting your VS Code and reopening it. And you're going to have to CD down through all the folders again, but see if that helps you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-download it because I don't have VS Code on my applications folder. It's in the doc, but when I quit the program, it automatically I have to re-download it.
Yeah,
I'll do that
so
and try it.
I bet you that's your problem. You should never run an application from the downloads folder. So you want to, after you download it, if you move it from the downloads folder to your applications, then open applications and open VS Code from the applications folder, you should find everything after that works.
Okay, now how do I move it from the doc to the applications folder?
So 2 steps. 1, you want to get it out of your doc, and then 2, you want to move it from downloads into applications, and then from there you want to put it back into your doc. So first step is right click on the first step is to quit it. So hit Command Q. Then we're going to go down to your doc and right click on VS Code. So to if it's still there.
No, it's gone.
Okay, so we're going to open up Finder in the bottom left. And then we're going to open up your downloads folder.
Yep.
Okay, and now find VS Code and drag it from the downloads folder over to applications.
Okay.
And once you have it in applications, click on applications to open it and scroll all the way down to the bottom and pop open VS Code.
Okay, I should be all set now.
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Feel free to stick around if you need more help.
All right, I think Karen and Phobelia were lined up next.
Karen, let's go for it. You want to share your screen?
Yeah, I am trying and I don't know if I'm having a trouble or it keeps saying open system preferences again.
Okay, so click on Open System Preferences.
Okay, did that, but
Okay.
it's opening up.
Okay, so let's go to Apple in the top left
Okay,
and drop down to System Preferences.
okay,
And then we're going to click on Security and Privacy in the third row down on the right.
privacy. Okay, there's a picture of Zoom and Pray.
Okay, so in the bottom left, does the lock look like it's unlocked or locked?
Okay, it's unlocked from last time.
Okay, so over on the left half, does it say screen recording?
Yeah.
Okay, and now is Zoom checked?
Okay, quit and reopen.
Okay, so before you click on that, it's going to close Zoom on you.
Mhm.
You have to do that, but when you reopen Zoom and rejoin the meeting, it will let you share your screen.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop the recording now. I think we have enough wonderful
Sure.
repeats at this time. Okay.
Oh, and I think I can stop the